A walk in Amnesia. That morning, my wife and I said our usual goodbyes. She left her second cup of tea and she followed me to the front door. She did this every day. She took from my coat a hair which wasn't there and she told me to be careful. She always did this. I closed the door and she went back to her tea. I'm a lawyer and I work very hard. My friend Dr. Walney told me not to work so hard. You will be ill, he said. A lot of people who work too hard get very tired and suddenly they forget who they are. They can't remember anything. It's called amnesia. You need a change and a rest. But I do rest, I replied. On Thursday nights, my wife and I play a game of cards, and on Sundays, she reads me her weekly letter from her mother. That morning, when I was walking to work, I thought about Dr. Walney's words. I was feeling very well and pleased with life. When I woke up, I was on a train and feeling very uncomfortable after a long sleep. I sat back in my seat and I tried to think. After a long time, I said to myself, I must have a name. I looked in my pockets. No letter, no papers, nothing with my name on. But I found $3,000. I must be someone, I thought. The train was crowded with men and who were all very friendly. One of them came and sat next to me. Hi, my name's I.P. Boulder. Boulder and Son from Missouri. You're going to the meeting in New York, of course. What's your name? I had to reply to him, so I said quickly, Edward Pinkhammer from Cornopolis, Kansas. He was reading a newspaper, but every few minutes he looked up from it to talk to me. I understood from his conversation that he was a druggist, and he thought that I was a druggist too. Are all these men druggists? I asked. Yes, they are, he answered. Like us, they are all going to the yearly meeting in New York. After a time, he held out his newspaper to me. Look at that, he said. Here's another of those men who run away and then say that they have forgotten who they are. A man gets tired of his business and his family and he wants to have a good time. He goes away somewhere and when they find him, he says that he doesn't know who he is and that he can't remember anything. I took the paper and read this. Denver, Jan 12th. Elvin C. Belfort, an important lawyer in the town, left home 3 days ago and hasn't come back. Just before he left, he took out a lot of money from his bank. Nobody has seen him since that day. He's a quiet man who enjoys his work and is happily married. But Mr. Belfort works very hard, and it's possible that he has amnesia. But sometimes people do forget who they are, Mr. Boulder, I said. Oh, come on, Mr. Boulder answered. It's not true, you know. These men just want something more exciting in their lives. Another woman, perhaps, something different. We arrived in New York at about 10 o'clock at night. I took a taxi to a hotel and I wrote the name, Edward Pinkhammer, in the hotel book. Suddenly, I felt wild and happy. I was free. A man without a name can do anything. The young man behind the desk at the hotel looked at me a little strangely. I had no suitcase. I'm here for the druggist's meeting, I said. My suitcase is lost. I took out some money and gave it to him. The next day, I bought a suitcase and some clothes and I began to live the life of Edward Pinkhammer. I didn't try to remember who or what I was. The next few days in Manhattan were wonderful. The theaters, the gardens, the music, the restaurants, the nightlife, the beautiful girls. And during this time, I learned something very important. If you want to be happy, you must be free.